Welcome to the Power of Your Voice podcast with your host, Johnny Gorky. You have the power to overcome challenges and fears. Let my voice and the voice of many others show you how to transform these challenges into opportunities. To learn more about future podcasts and read episode show notes, check out my website at www.thepowerofyourvoice.com.
This is episode 10, and today's guest is Tina Paulus-Krause, who's a captivating speaker, a Huffington Post blogger, and the co-host of a local access TV show called Our Focus Is You. After 22 years in corporate, Tina took the leap and founded a leadership development company dedicated to helping leaders become stronger, healthier, evolved leaders. Her passion is in transformational coaching and helping people become the best leader of themselves and others they can be. After complete transformation of her own, Tina learned how powerful leveraging the right tools combined with a trusting community can reprogram long-held beliefs, change long-held habits, and create sustainable results. Tina has made it her mission helping leaders and the team dig deep and learn to empower themselves to reach their fullest potential. Our world has and is dramatically changing, and so much how we develop as leaders. New skill sets are needed as we rapidly move into the future of work. Tina's life experience and background of 22 years in business provide a perfectly unique and well-rounded framework where she can speak and coach from a place of true authenticity, helping others create sustainable change. Hello. So here I have Tina Paulus-Krause. She's this amazing, powerful woman, and I have the amazing opportunity to interview her. So I'm going to ask you, Tina, what sparked your transformation?
What sparked my transformation? So I have kind of thought about this journey now for the last 4 years. I've been on it. And I was working at corporate America. I had been working at corporate America for 22 years. I was in leadership. And, I was on a rat race. I was working. I was kind of like in this workaholic mode, trying to climb the ladder, trying to do everything that I wanted to do in my career. And I got a call one day from my 24-year-old daughter at the time that said, "Mom, something really bad happened last night." And it was just this like wake up call, because I was so busy in my own personal life trying to do what I wanted to do and be on this hamster wheel and being a workaholic and everything else, that it was this huge realization that my daughter was in big trouble. And I didn't know about it. And so what had happened was she was hung up with a bad crowd, and she was really, really addicted to drugs and alcohol, and tried to break up with a boyfriend who wasn't a super good guy, and he beat her up, right? So she called one day after trying to get her life together and trying to do the right thing, because she knew that she was at her lowest ever. And when she called me that day and said, "Mom, something really bad happened," it was like this switch in me that clicked. It switched over. It was like, "Wake up, Tina, because this is happening under your nose and you didn't even know it." And so I literally shut off my whole life. I didn't open my computer for a week. I didn't look at my phone for a week. She came home. We sat in our house and we literally just sat here and talked, right? We laughed and we cried and we bonded again, and she healed and we healed as a family. And that Friday, so 5 days later, I took her to the airport and I watched her go up the escalator with a one-way ticket to rehab in Arizona, thousands of miles away. And I didn't know what she was going into. I didn't have any history or experience or anything like that with drug and alcohol abuse. And so it was just a really, really scary time in my life. Obviously it was more scary in her life, but the good news is that she came back from that 30 days of recovery, and she started her own personal transformation. And today she's sober and she's thriving, and she's got this amazing spiritual practice, and it's a really beautiful story. But at the same time that she kind of found her recovery, I was able to take a step back in my own life and go, okay, Tina, is this really, are you living the life that you really want to live here? And the answer was no. And it just really started this 4-year journey of self-development, actually. And just, what book can I get my hands on? What workshop can I go to? What retreat can I go to? And I just started getting my hands on whatever I could. And it kind of became a game. Okay, what can I do next? What can I try next? What can I change next? And all of that. And so 4 years later, I'm 90 days from making the leap from corporate, starting my own business. And I've just had this total transformation in mind, body, and soul. And it's been the best ride of my life.
Wow. So speaking about corporate America, so you worked for corporate America for 22 years. How did you get out of the rat race and leap into living your dream? And what advice do you have for someone who really, really wants to get out of corporate America, but honestly, they're just scared to get out of corporate America because they just don't know how they can do that? Because, that's the thing. You get stuck in things. You're like, I want something big. I really, really, really want to get out of here, but I don't know what to do. I'm scared.
Right.
What advice would you have for somebody like that?
Yeah, I was really stuck. I was unhappy, and I would sit back and go, I'm unhappy. And if I look at my life, I have absolutely no reason to be unhappy, right? I've got this great career. I'm in 6 figures. I've got this beautiful family. I have an amazing husband, but there was something missing inside, and I just didn't know what it was. And so when I started my journey, I stayed at corporate America probably for the first 3 years into my journey. Well, no, actually it's only 90 days since I've left corporate. So pretty much my whole last 4 years, I was there, but I knew that I was working towards something different. So how do you get out? I've seen people, unfortunately, like they have their wake up call and they go through like, I don't know whatever it is that you go through, and they're like, okay, I'm quitting, and they quit, and they don't have that plan in place. And so I really spent 3.5 years putting a plan in place. What was the next right move? What was the next right thing that I needed to do to get to where I needed to be? And I think what I was missing is I was missing the clarity piece. I was doing what everybody told me I should do. I was in aspiring programs. I was climbing the ladder. I was, when you're in corporate, it's like dress like this and say this, but don't do that. And you have all these like perceived rules that you think that you have to follow. And one day I just woke up and said, okay, this is not me. This is not who I am. And so what I was missing was the clarity piece. And I really, through that self-development and through those books and workshops and things that I was doing through the process of my journey, is where I found my purpose and my passion. So the advice that I would give is make sure that you have complete clarity around who you want to be and how you want to show up in this world. Because I didn't have complete clarity over that. And I would have these disastrous relationships and things that were happening and situations that I wasn't handling the way that I needed to. I wasn't showing up the way that I truly, of who I wanted people to see me as. And that, that was me having to own what some of the stuff that I needed to own. And so the advice that I would give is find out what you own, find where the gaps are, create clarity. What do you really want? Who do you really want to be? What do you really want to do in life? What brings you joy, right? Like there's a lot of clarity and a lot of self-development work that you can do to get there. And once I had that clarity and that purpose, like I would be going to some of these retreats and watching the facilitators and watching the coaches and the people up on stage. And like, it was just this click of, that's who I want to be. Like, that's what I want to do. That's what lights me up. And so I knew that that was the end game. I knew that that was the end goal. But here I am in this really nice, comfortable 6-figure job. I have a great team. It's a great company. Like, why are you not happy here? Why are you not satisfied? But there was this thing in my gut that was calling me for more, to do more and stuff like that. So I had to lay out a plan. 15 months before I actually left corporate, I took a step down and I left my title and I left some of my income. I walked away from my office and I went into a position that was completely different from what I had done before. But I went into our leadership development area because I knew that that's what I wanted to do long term. And so I needed to rebrand myself and I needed to get the experience and understand what that meant So it's really, I know that that's a long answer, Johnny, but it's really about finding clarity of who you want to be and how you want to show up, and then build that action plan in your life to actually get there.
Wow, that's great. Now, how did you come up with this action plan? Because that's the thing. Some people might be listening to this. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But I am stuck. How do I create this plan?
Yeah, that's the key. I for so long, the reason why I was stuck is because I was being a lone wolf. I was trying to figure it out on my own. My programming throughout my whole life had been like, if it's going to be, it's up to me, right? Like I'm, as a single mom, I just thought that I had to make this happen. And when I started reaching out for support and I started showing up at workshops and hiring coaches and finding people that would support me in where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, like the process of that helped me figure out all the rest. When I was trying to figure it out on my own, it wasn't working super hot for me,
Yeah.
And when I started reaching out and asking for help and hiring coaches and getting really serious about it, that's when I started to break through some of that stuff that was really holding me back.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. A lot of times people think they have to do on their own. All they have to do is ask. People want to help, but they can't help
Right?
us if we don't ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what tools and resources have helped you during your transformation?
I think so. The very first, luckily, when I talk about that situation with Courtney and that call that I got, Mom, something really bad happened last night. But luckily, a couple of months before that happened, I had read 2 books that kind of jarred me a little bit to like, you got to start figuring this out kind of a thing. And the first one of those books was Crucial Conversations. And so the Crucial Conversations, if you're stuck and you need to get unstuck, you have to be able to talk about it, right? So like if you, Johnny, if you and I are in conflict, I have to be able to come to you in the right way to have that right conversation so that we can get through that conflict in a healthy way. Otherwise, we're constantly focused and our energy is taken up on all this negative conflict and stuff.
Yeah.
And so what Crucial Conversations, like I'm reading that book and I was like, oh my God, like I've been blaming all of my stuff on everything outside of me and it's all inside me. The Crucial Conversations really made me understand that everything that I needed to handle conflict, I already had. I just needed to practice how to do it. And the other thing that Crucial Conversations taught me is that when I go into a conversation, don't go into that conversation trying to win, right? And that was me, whether it was with my husband or somebody at work or something like that. I always went into a conversation and we're going to talk until I win. And that was my mindset because I was trying to get stuff moving forward. I was trying to make things happen. And Crucial Conversations kind of made me take a step back and go, hey, wait, you're going in already with an intended purpose. You need to go in not already being right. And it just, my husband and I read it together because I would come home at night and I'd be bitching and moaning and complaining about what had happened at work, and he'd be like, have you read Crucial Conversations? And I'd be like, I don't need a book, I'm good. But then I read it and then we read it together and it helps both personally and professionally. It helped us completely transform our relationship.
Wow, that's great. And he encouraged you to read it. Now, what is the second book?
Yeah, the second book was Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. So this is a book it's a business book, and Sheryl Sandberg really stands for women. And it's really, the name of your podcast, right? The Power of Your Voice. That's really what Sheryl talks about in her book. She talks a lot about sitting at the table. And in my career, I work for a large insurance company, and in insurance, it's a very male dominated industry. And so there were many times, the majority of times throughout my career, that I was the only female sitting at the table.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and that gets frustrating, right? Because I would talk about my ideas or say what I was thinking. And, everybody kind of looks at you like you're an alien. And then we go around the table and like 3 people later, somebody says the same thing that I said, right? But I was showing up in those conversations, not in the way that I needed to show up in those conversations. And so Sheryl Sandberg really is about the power of your voice and taking your seat at the table and not being fearful and not shying back and all of that. So Sheryl really helped me stand in my truth. And what I mean by that is she really, once I got clarity over who I really wanted to be and how I wanted to show up, that book helped me kind of get the confidence to actually stay in it. Because, you know, we can, on good days, it's easy to show up, right? It's the hard days when it's hard to show up in the way that you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So those two books were two resources that just really kicked off my transformation. And then after that, I think I went to a retreat. And so, it was a retreat in California. It was called the Bliss Project. Lori Harder was there. Danette May was there. They have been my coaches now for the last 4 years. But when I went into these retreats, it was the first time that, and they were women retreats, so they were all women. But it was the first time that I was coming into a group of people, and just like the love and the energy and the reason why everybody was there for a common reason, you know, to build ourselves up and to be better people and serve the world in a better way. And it was just, I realized the power of community through that. So again, I had been trying to do everything on my own before that. And then I walked into these things, and I'm realizing the power of community. And we see that, Johnny, in the leadership program that we're both involved in right now, right? When you have community surrounding you, and when you have community loving you and lifting you up through the good times and the bad, like, it's invincible, right?
Yes. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, so it was just this huge realization that I don't have to do this alone. In fact, a lot of people are going through the exact same stuff that I'm going through, and we can work on this together. And it gave me an outlet to be able to, like, really be vulnerable with people, and knowing that I'm not going to get judged, because I would really back off. In my past, I was worried about what other people thought. I was worried about making a mistake. I was totally into perfection and all of that stuff. And just through going through all of these personal development kinds of things, the workshops and the retreats, and you know, the healthy eating kind of things, and learning how to really take care of me and love me first, like, it really just changed everything. So those workshops and those developments, it was all kind of like this process, and I just started to get really hungry for, like, what's the next thing, because I could feel myself becoming a better person. I could feel myself stepping into my own power. I could feel myself really kind of coming alive and coming out of my shell.
Yeah. Well, I have this very powerful question to ask you, and this could be extremely helpful for a lot of people who might be listening to this, and it could be currently going through the situation. So what some people don't know about you, like right now, you're this amazing, powerful, gorgeous lady, and you're just a powerhouse. But you weren't always like that. You once were in a dark place. You were mentally beating yourself up, watching TV for 6 hours. You were overweight. How did you overcome this mindset and transform into this absolutely beautiful and powerful leader that you are today?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think here's the thing. I think that it was always in me, but what would happen is, because I didn't know how to handle the conflict, I would come within. So where the weight came, I mean, I've yo-yoed my whole life. When I graduated high school, I was 113. I've been anywhere between 113 to 200 plus my whole life, back and forth, in and out, up and down, right? And what finally changed it all was the day that I realized that I needed to love me. Like, when I started to love me and look at myself in the mirror and say, you are powerful, you are strong, you are amazing, you know, and when I started to really believe that, is when I really started to kind of come out of my shell, and I was able to move forward. But I had to let go of what people thought of me, and I had to let go of the perfection, and I had to be able to just move forward and not worry about that stuff. And honestly, there's no way that I ever would have been able to do it on my own. So for people that are listening to this, like, stop trying to do it on your own. There's people out there that will help you get to where you want to go. And even though every one of us has our own path and our different way of getting there, the journey is the same. It's crazy, because in some of the groups that I'm in, some of the, you know, because like I sign up for, you know, all these programs, and then you end up being in this community. And so you watch people kind of go through this same transformation. And it's been crazy, because the same questions come up at the same point in the journey.
They do.
And they really, really do. And so when you, like, the biggest thing is just to surrender. We hold on to that control. I held on to that control, and it was a mask. I was wearing so many masks trying to prove to everybody else that I had my shit together when I knew inside I didn't. So yeah, Johnny, I came off as having my stuff together. I came off as all of these things, and that's who I was inside, but I wasn't feeling it inside. When I started feeling it inside is when all of a sudden the weight started coming off and staying off, and all of a sudden skin started looking better. And it's because I was eating the right foods and I was feeding my mind the right stuff. And it's so easy, but it's so hard. You know what I mean? I think the advice would be stop doing it on your own. Reach out. I am sure that you have people on this podcast every single day that their whole life's work, just like mine, is to help people find this mindset. I lived 46 years of my life in this negative mindset that I didn't even know I had. And I dedicate today the rest of my life to helping people come through that journey. You don't have to do it on your own.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Sometimes, even with myself, it's like we feel that we put ourselves in a situation, like say, for example, you're overweight. You're like, well, I chose the wrong foods, or I didn't exercise. I did all this on my own, so I have to get myself out of that. So for a person to say, you know what, I need to get support, how are you able to overcome that and say, you know what, no, I need help? How are you able to do that? Because of pride and ego and all this kind of stuff, that can be very challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really is. And I see it today in, like, if I offer programs and stuff like that, it's tough, especially for women. Maybe not especially, but it's really hard to spend the time and the money on yourself, because we're so programmed and so used to making sure that everybody else is taken care of and everything else is taken care of. And if there's anything left over, then I'll spend it on me, or I'll spend the time or the money. And it was really just this mindset shift. It's a choice. It's totally a choice. I mean, one day it's like, Tina, like, you can live like this forever and be mad and miserable and, toxic in your mind. And once I started feeling how good it felt to be on the other side of that mindset, like, you crave it, you want it, and you will do what you need to do to keep it and get there. But for those people that are really, they're stuck and they're saying, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, they're finding all kinds of excuses, because I found excuses for 45 years, right? It's a choice. So letting go, surrendering, understanding that you don't have all the answers. It's not working super well for you right now. I mean, just owning up to that kind of stuff, right? You got to own it. And then once you own it, reach out. All you got to do is Google, find some Google thing. I mean, there are tons of resources out there. You're watching this podcast, so that's one of them, right? There's tons of resources that will help you get to where you want to go. You got to surrender.
Yeah. Well, an amazing thing is people can do that. So what do you mean when you say the journey never ends?
The journey never ends. So I mean that we are constantly learning, and we are constantly growing, and we are constantly evolving. So it's so cool, because I remember 4 years ago, I would look at some of these coaches on stage, or I would look at some of the people, that I really aspired to be, that I really loved how they led themselves and led others and stuff like that. And it was just like, it was overwhelming a little bit, because you're like, that's just not me. And I want to say that, yes, it is. It's all of us. We just have to choose to be that person, right? And so today, I would not feel comfortable with any of my coaching clients today if I didn't still have a coach. I will always, always, always have a coach, because as I'm learning and growing, I'm helping my clients learn and grow along the way. If I stop learning and growing, at some point, I'm not going to have anything to offer my clients, right? So that, and in addition to, as we keep growing, we just keep leveling up. You just keep leveling up and leveling up, and the sky's the limit, right? I don't ever want to stop growing now. I want to grow forever and see where it takes me.
Yeah, and you're having so much more fun. I mean,
Yeah.
Every day is a different day. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's so much more fun, and it's so much lighter, Johnny. Like, I feel like 1,000,000 pounds has been lifted off of my shoulders. Carry that weight, and we carry that toxic, and we carry just the heavy of being mad and being angry and being depressed, and like, that's heavy, heavy stuff. And that, when we say stuck, you're stuck. Like, if you're feeling that, you're stuck. And I just want to say that you don't have to be stuck. There are so many resources and tools out there to help you get unstuck and move forward. And once you do that, it's crazy how much better you feel on the other side and how much more you're able to give and offer to those who love you as well. I'm a much better wife to my husband today. I'm a much better mom to my kids today than I ever have been.
Which is incredible. And, the big thing is sometimes people don't realize it's like when we're angry and upset, the people around us, they kind of get angry and upset. But when we're just this amazing, happy person, it's like a virus that just spreads and spreads and spreads. And everybody's just happy because they love to be around us. It's just amazing. It really, really, really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because my whole life, I think back, and when I'm that person, because I'm a promoter, right? So I'm, like, wah, and I'm always out there. But in my past, when I talk about programming, when I was that person, there were people in my life, family members in my life, people in my professional life who would be like, oh, you got to calm down. You're too much. That's too much. You're being too loud. You're saying too much. You know what I mean? And so we continuously get pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. And that's what I mean by programming. And the programming is, no, be you, be who you are. And guess what? The right people are going to show up in your life when you are authentically exactly who you are.
Exactly. Or I completely hear you. Because, I've had people, relax, calm down. Why are you so hyper? It's like, why can't I be happy? I mean, we all want to be happy,
Yeah.
and we deserve it.
Johnny, you are contagious. You are completely contagious. So don't ever calm that, ever.
No, I love it. This is who I am.
Yep.
So what does the power of your voice mean to you?
I think it's just that. It's the power of your voice. So as you grow and as you develop, once you've surrendered and kind of gotten clarity of who you want to be and how you want to show up, it's when I talk about showing up, I can show up and I can choose to not say anything. I can show up and choose to use my voice. And sometimes when we're showing up and using our voice, it's scary because people might be judging us. People are maybe not agreeing with us. And I think that there are a majority of the people who, when they get into those positions, they will choose not to use their voice. That's what being stuck is. They will come back. They will go within. They won't use their voice out of fear, right? There's only two things. It's love or fear. And if you're not in a state of love, you're in a state of fear. You're mad, you're depressed, you're sad, you're whatever, bitter, whatever those feelings are.
Yeah.
And so using your voice means just exactly what it is. The power of your voice is using your voice, right, wrong, or indifferent, just being who you are. And if you're feeling it, you're expressing it, and you're not being held back in fear of what people are going to think or what people are going to say. You're just being you, and you're honoring the world with you.
Yeah, which is amazing. I mean, we are who we are. We just have to not worry about what other people think,
Yeah. I know so many times in corporate, even I think about like sitting in a meeting room, right? You got a meeting room and there's 20 people at the table. And in my head, I'm like, are we really having this conversation again? All these things are going through your head. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he or she said that again. Or, all these things go through. And so many times in those meetings, I didn't talk. I didn't use my voice. I didn't say what I was really feeling. And 9 times out of 10, it might have been in that meeting or it might have been at a later time. Somebody would use their voice and say the exact same thing that I was thinking. And so often what we're thinking, when we have fear and don't say it, chances are there are other people right around you that are feeling and thinking the same thing. They also are in fear. So being a true leader is really being able to use your voice in a way that helps other people move forward with you.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. When we stand up, we take a stand in our leadership positions and we use our voice and we say something that a lot of times empowers other people to stand up and say, you know what? Wow. You know what? Okay. I'm going to say something too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. It's really actually when you focus on that, when you can see that happening, I mean, I've seen that happen, and you just see other people kind of follow suit. And it's just really like, that's when you know that there's a good leader in the room when that happens.
Yes. So for anyone who's listening to this episode, what's a few things that you would love for people to take away from this?
I think I would love for people to take away from this to stop trying to have all the control, right? When you let go of the control of thinking that you have to keep everything tight in here and held in, and you just open up your heart, open up your life, open up to new possibilities, open up to help and support, it is crazy how your life will change along with that. So if there's like one thing, it's surrender and ask for help. And when you surrender and ask for help, all kinds of doors are going to open up for you. And it's crazy how you will just naturally get led to wherever it is that you're supposed to be. When we hold on to that control and, those doors are shut, that's like shutting the doors because we're all closed up. We're all closed up. So my advice is open up, just open up and surrender and ask for help. And you're on your journey at that point.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. A lot of people want to help us, but they can't because we don't ask for the help.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Yeah.
to give them permission.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of it. I still to this day, I'm really guilty of it, right? Because I'll be in the middle of something that's hard and I'll be like, nope, I can do this. I got this. And a day will go by and I'll be like, no, okay, I can do this, and I don't ask for help. And then by the time I realize that I'm supposed to ask for help, like I'm in a real pickle, right? And so I've really had to try hard to notice when I'm going through that and notice when I need to ask for support and when I need to ask for help. That's why it's an ongoing journey because I always say that like my crazy town is still happening inside. like crazy town is still there. I just know how to manage it better today than I have in the past.
Which is beautiful. So for anybody who's listened to this podcast, like, oh my gosh, I love Tina. She's amazing. And I love the fact that, she's a coach and she's working with so many people, but she's constantly being coached herself. Because that's the thing. If you're a coach, you constantly need to be coached. So how can a person work with you? How can they find you online, social media, and all that kind of stuff? Like, I want to work with you. How can they get in touch with Tina?
Awesome. Okay. So my website is trueyouforever.com. Just TRUEYOUforever.com. You can get a hold of me that way. My email is trueyouforever@icloud.com. You can get a hold of me that way. I'm all over social media. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called True You. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. All over the place. So yeah, just reach out to me. I love working with individuals. I love working with teams of people. And yeah, I am forever dedicated to this work.
So what exactly do you do for anyone who's listened to this?
Gotcha. So I do a couple of different things. I do coaching. So I do one-on-one coaching. I don't do that exclusively, but that is a piece of what I do. So I take one-on-one clients and work with them. The other thing I do is I go into organizations. So lots of things are changing in corporate America, right? There's all these disruptors that are happening out in the world with technology and AI and the future of work and how fast how much we're connected and all this information and all this. So the workplace is tough right now. We have to evolve leadership at the same time as we're evolving the future of work. And so I go into organizations and I will help teams that are in conflict. So leaders that have teams that maybe they've got conflict underneath, so they're not getting the results that they need to get. I go in and I help that team come together as a cohesive team. There's like a process that we work through where we build team agreements and we build the team vision and all this kind of stuff. And it really helps people kind of let go of the past. And as a team, let's move forward with these agreements, knowing that this is how we're going to work now moving forward. So I do those two things. I do a lot of speaking gigs, so nonprofit organizations, and I'll go into businesses and stuff like that and just do keynotes. So those are probably the majority of the things that I do.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, thank you so very much for being on the Power of Your Voice podcast. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. Thank you for asking me. This has been a ton of fun.
I love you. You're amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Johnny here. Thank you for listening to the Power of Your Voice podcast. I'd love to get your feedback on this episode and how it impacted you. If someone in your life could benefit from this episode, share it with them. Check out thepowerofyourvoice.com to read show notes, leave a comment on the blog page, and to stay updated on all future episodes, subscribe to this podcast and leave a 5-star review. Thank you for your love and support.